Okay, I wanted to finish up my thoughts on this Supreme Court ruling on parents being able to take their kids out of school or out of the curriculum, out of the reading of LGBTQ themes and other themes that frankly, any themes, okay? I don't really care that it's LGBTQ, any themes. If you're a parent of a child and you have particularly a cultural or religious exemption, you want an exemption for your child, you don't want him or her exposed to various curricula, it's your prerogative as a parent to pull them. And the frightening thing is that this is a court case that districts, school officials have fought parents on and had success in lower courts. It made its way all the way to the Supreme Court, the premise that you as the parent may not have the right to pull your kid out of school if he or she is subject to things that you don't want him or her subjected to. And yes, here is the opinion, the dissenting opinion. This was a 6-3 ruling. The three lunatics, Sonia Sotomayor, the wise Latina, Elena Kagan, and Justice What is a Woman, Ketanji Brown Jackson Brown, in her written dissent, said this: public schools offer children of all faiths and backgrounds an education and an opportunity to practice living in our multicultural society. That experience is critical to our nation's civic vitality. Yet it will become a memory if children must be insulated from exposure to ideas and concepts that may conflict with their parents' religious beliefs. Do you hear that? And I really want you to take that in, because if you want something chilling, you people on the left who are chilled because the Supreme Court basically said judges cannot run roughshod over the executive branch of the United States. You know, one little pipsqueak judge in a district court cannot issue nationwide injunctions to shut down a duly elected president of the United States. That chills you. Okay, I had leftists in my life reach out to me suggesting we were all going to be marched off in boxcars or something if we couldn't produce our papers. So stupid. Hysterical. And yet, I want you to consider that there are 3 Supreme Court justices at present, and many lower court justices at present, right now, who hold the belief that your children are effectively state property and that you as a parent have absolutely no right to stop them from being exposed to things you object to because, as Sonia Sotomayor, the wise Latina, puts it, it is critical to our nation's civic vitality. Fast Eddie, your little Eddie, your toddler son at 4 years of age, it is critical to our nation's civic vitality that he understand that he can feel like a girl if he wants and read books with similar themes. And it is your responsibility to allow your public school to sit him down and begin to read him these things so he can be exposed to it because you're a bigot. Don't you understand? Got
Chris,
it?
That sounds like straight out of the pit of hell, as you like to say. That sounds awful.
That's right.
I don't like that.
Does that frighten you more than judges can't issue nationwide injunctions on birthright citizenship?
Absolutely. Because really, you don't have a choice on where to send your kid, right? Most of the time. At least in the current situation we are in here. Yeah, that scares me.
Not unless you homeschool or send them to a private school, which, you know, a lot of people can't or won't or whatever for whatever reason. But this is the thing. Increasingly, people see your children as public property. You can't raise them as a parent. Our nation's civic vitality is dependent on public schools exposing your children to things you may not at home because of your religious intolerance or bigotry or closed-mindedness. And I'll tell you something right now, ladies and gentlemen, if that doesn't chill you to your core, if that doesn't get you up and voting, if that doesn't get you engaged in what's going on in this country, nothing's gonna. Now, I know a lot of us in this audience have kids that are up and out or older. You know, my youngest is entering her junior year of high school, and I say to Christine often, this would horrify me if I was paying attention as a younger man. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, there are a lot of you younger people out there with young families and young kids that aren't paying attention to this, and this should scare the excrement out of you. It ought to. 3 Supreme Court judges said Friday, your children, you do not fully control, nor do you have full responsibility for educating. And that if, in fact, your education of your children differs with the state's priorities in how your children are educated, tough. We know better than them. We know better than you. We will teach your kids what we feel they need to know, because if they aren't exposed to these wonderful things for our nation's civic vitality, like LGBTQ-themed books, and that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, that's a closed-minded existence. That we in public schools, and we here at the Supreme Court, says Sonia Sotomayor, and Judge What is a Woman, and Elena Kagan, these are things that children just can't miss out on. Children must not be insulated from exposure to ideas and concepts that may conflict with their parents' religious beliefs. That's horrifying. And I, quite frankly, am stunned that there was not more attention paid to it. I think most people said, well, I mean, that's just a ruling for reason, isn't it, Stigall? I mean, 6-3, slam dunk, parents have rights. Yeah, 3 said no. And furthermore, boldly wrote, not only do you not have rights, the state knows better than you. In the New York Post, Jonathan, I'll move on. I could probably do a whole show on it. It makes my blood boil. And it's why I warn you, if you have children who have children, if you have grandkids, if you have nieces, nephews, if you have children, and you haven't strongly considered how you're educating them, I'm warning you, and thank God we have a Supreme, and I mean it, thank God in heaven that we have a Supreme Court right now that rules in a sane way, but just understand, surrounding them, and incidentally, this lawsuit, do you know that this lawsuit was brought by Jews, Christians, and Muslim parents together combined? This was a multi-religious background lawsuit filed against this Maryland school district. So the left has done something remarkable. They have managed to unify 3 of the global faiths. Jews, Christians, and Muslims came together in one lawsuit to stand against a public school district, and it was close. And it was close. Do you hear me? Let that sink in. I'm sorry if you say, all right, Stigall, we got it. I'm going to keep saying it because you need to get it, and it needs to scare the excrement out of you. Muslims, Jews, and Christians came together in a lawsuit, and it had to go all the way to the Supreme Court until 6 people said, yes, Muslim, Christian, and Jewish parents can keep their kids from reading objectionable themes that conflict with their faiths. And there were 3 that said, no, we don't agree. Your faiths are bigoted. They're backwards. And it's up to us to expose your children to things you won't expose them to for our civic vitality. That should horrify you. More than anything in the news today, that should horrify you. And yet, no, I'm told by the left that alligator Alcatraz is the scariest thing. That we're setting up a facility in southern Florida where illegals will be detained before they're deported. The left is all singing from the same hymnal now that this is a concentration camp. I got a panicky text from a leftist over the weekend that said, I can't believe this birthright citizenship thing. Oh, I hope I have my papers in order. And yet, the most precious gift we're given in life are children. 3 members of the most powerful court in the land, a co-equal branch of our government, just said, your children are state property. And this doesn't get so much as an eyebrow raise from Democrat voting parents. Horrifying. Over at the New York Post, Jonathan Turley, headline, Justice Jackson's activist opinion does more damage to Supreme Court civility. I don't know if you read Amy Coney Barrett's dissenting opinion on this thing, these judicial injunctions that she wrote. Justice What is a Woman wrote the dissenting opinion on this thing. And Amy Coney Barrett just tore her to shreds. In fact, I had a guy say to me yesterday in church, he goes, well, what do you think of Amy Coney Barrett now? Because he knows I've been kind of tough on her, and I've said I'm keeping a sharp eye on her, and I don't know how I feel about her, and she gets wobbly at times. Ever since she ruled that abortion should go back to the states, in my opinion, she has been dicey at best as a dependable vote for the Constitution. And so this really strong opinion, written directly at Justice What is a Woman. Friend says, you feel a little better about Justice Amy Coney Barrett now? I said, I do. I'll take the win. I'll take the dub. She was brilliant. And I'll get into some of what Turley had to say about this Friday. But this these three women, these three left-wing women on the court, they're scary. And they're getting scarier by the day.
The Chris Stigall Show Podcast.